Thank you. Thanks everyone for joining this session on decoding digitization for next-gen security and privacy. Hi Sailaja, I know you have been working in security, privacy, and this digitization domain, and a lot of projects you have done on this particular subject. I wanted to understand from your side that how do you see this digitization and digitalization, considering that digitalization and digitization can play a very important role. If I talk about one of the MGI research report, it can actually add 13 trillion in global GDP by 2030. And some of the leading sectors are travel and hospitality, while healthcare segment is like lagging on the technology or digitalization race. So how do you see that, and where do you see that security is adding in the entire digitalization and digitization?
Yeah, thank you, Swati, for the wonderful kickstart question and also right on spot. Let me just, before getting into how security and digitization are going hand in hand, let me just also tell you, I would like to also quickly bring forth the Japanese car manufacturer has suffered a suspected ransomware attack. And because of a small endpoint device, everything came to a halt, that temporarily disrupted its global operations, including the factory operations, something on the shop floor, everything got frozen. And hearing all of these things and also all these news hitting headlines day in and day out, first of all, we all have to understand it very clearly. If technology has to be correctly managed, otherwise we will not be able to deliver the benefits that all of us expect out of it. That's the key thing. And when we are talking about technology and security, right, both of them cannot be seen differently these days with all the things happening around us, be it the amount of with massive digitization the pandemic has brought in. I also have to say technology is no more, security is no more technological, but it is more of an existential issue at the moment. And if you don't have security, then you cease to exist. So that is the era that we are living in. And for sure, efforts are in place from quite some time to be able to cope up with the digitization. But with this massiveness, yes, we all had some hiccups. And no one expected this quantum leap in the digitization. And henceforth, the pandemic is also kind of a wake-up call for all the organizations. And while this was happening, we also have to, I also would like to, showcase some of the numbers, like 79% of the global executives, they started ranking cybersecurity as one of their organization's highest priority in 2020, according to one of the survey, which they have gathered inputs from 1,500 executives, not just one or two. And at the same time, overall security's role in digital transformation has improved, not only just in involvement in the early stages of everything that the business is planning to do, but also in terms of awareness and also inclusion of all of these cybersecurity leaders at the board levels. And at the same time, people also have learned how to be resilient, that too cyber resilient, because now what happened with this massive digitization is security posture. Most of the companies have started at least doing the evaluation of the security posture, because they just don't want to wait for a disaster to happen. They have already seen huge hiccups, I have to say, not the disasters at the moment, most of the organizations. So they have started looking into the current posture, where do they stand, and what are the necessary investments with respect to people, process, and technology in order to cope up with the massive scale of things that are happening, because we have never expected this is going to be happening so soon like this. And at the same time, cyber resilience is an evolving perspective that is rapidly gaining recognition, because we all know, right, there are only two categories of people who know, like, whether they're being attacked. One category is like they know they're being attacked, and the other category is like they don't know. It like they're continuously being attacked. So resilience is playing a very, very important role. And to be in line with the digitization objectives, we also have to have cyber resilience at the core of everything that we do. And at the same time, cyber resilience, if I have to tell it, at least I think some of our students also must be here, it refers to the ability to continuously deliver the intended outcome despite of any adverse cyber security events or incidents that can happen or that might happen to your organization, right? For example, if I have to quote one quick example that happened during the this vaccination, right? There were so many organizations, there were so many healthcare sectors which were continuously being attacked with several different intentions of people. Maybe they would like to know the formula, or they would like to interrupt the process, so on and so forth. But still, all of this healthcare industry was so resilient that they were able to still deliver, in the midst of all of these adverse events and situations. This is one of the example I could also quote. And I say, yes, security is in line with or digitization is in line with the security objectives, because without which it has become the, breathe for all the organizations, without which they cannot survive anymore.
Thanks, Sailaja. I think that's wonderful. And to set the context, you have given all the facts and details. I know one of the reasons that why entities or business is shying away from digitalization is the dependency on the legacy technology, or they are using obsolete hardware, softwares, or applications. Do you see that security and privacy is another fear factor that is prohibiting them to move towards digitization?
Swati, there are two sides to this coin, I have to say. One is the fear aspect of it, but the entire universe have witnessed now with the massive adoptions of digitization, because there is no other go. Most of the organizations, even according to Gartner, there's a huge leap in companies going on for cloud computing. Not only just from the technological perspective, but also from the financial aspects of it, right? Because they don't have to bring in, or they don't have to hire so much of hardware, software, and so many things and moving forward. Both of them have to go hand in hand. For sure, people are also scared. For example, when we talk about the financial industries, right? They're not so comfortable initially when we say, like, to the banks or any fintech industries to move to the cloud. But now there's no other way. And on the other side, how we can build confidence for all of these businesses, which are also sensitive in nature. It can be healthcare, it can be fintech, or it can be e-commerce, which is also, took a quantum leap throughout this digitization. What I have to say is the companies who are responsible, or the digital citizens, or the cyber warriors like you and me who are responsible, it's on our shoulders as well to give the confidence to these people, telling them, how security built in, integrated into each and everything. It is kind of baked into this entire, ecosystem of digitization. Then people will be able to live without fear. And the most important factor, as I also mentioned earlier, right, cyber resilience. Yes, incidents are tend to happen. We cannot avoid all of that. But even in the midst of all of this chaos and disaster, how companies are still able to live on to the promise and able to ensure the business is up and running, So that's the main important aspect. I think it's the responsibility of everybody who is working in the security domain to give that confidence to the businesses who are still reluctant to move to the tech and the niche that we're, seeing day in and day out around us.
You talked about very specific point about the cyber resiliency. Do you think that technologies can enable in getting the cyber resiliency? Technologies like cloud, technologies like extending the hybrid infrastructure, can they build a cyber resilient infrastructure that organizations are targeting for?
Yes, for sure. This is a wonderful question, Swati, since we are touch basing on the cloud, right? As I think most of us at least know in this conversation, cloud is all about having the business continuity with a zero downtime. That is the key unique selling point. Like each and every hyperscaler would like to sell it to their customers, or at least to showcase it to their customers. When I say, right, cyber resiliency, let us talk about the business continuity plan, since I also touched based on that. With respect to the business continuity plan, when I say like one of my data centers, say it is it is in the country where it is prone to have floods and so on and so forth, immediately when there is a disaster that is happening in there, at a glimpse of at a glimpse of something, you should be able to immediately up your site too, and ensure your business continuity is going on, and your customers and your partners and the entire ecosystem is not impacted at all. And at the same time, I also recently heard one of the scenario, I cannot quote the company names here for sure, they have undergone ransomware. And then these guys started demanding so much of money, and then immediately everybody left everything and they started sitting on the table. And the most beautiful and important aspect is they did not go panicky, because when we talk about cyber resiliency or whatever, right, it is also about the presence of mind in the midst of this chaos, or in the midst of this cyclone that you're in the middle of it. And they definitely know, all of them, when they just spent some good amount of time in a short span, they were able to identify they don't have any critical data even, and they also have a backup. So they don't even have to acknowledge that they have to pay the ransom. Unlike, just imagine if that is not the case, like they were giving an statement to the external guys, and they're also kind of acknowledging that there is a ransom and all, it would have been a bigger mess, right? So it is also really important for all of us, to balance that out, the kind of mindfulness and the sensitivity of the situation, and not just go by your thoughts when such situations are going on, but bring everybody to the table and discuss and really take a decision. Because this is one such use case I can really tell you, which is really, really important. Even from the front runners or the front fighter side, we also have to really keenly look into when people are claiming something is compromised, how much of it is compromised, and is it really worth the data, like, or we have to pay some ransom or whatever.
Thanks for sharing the insight, Shalja. That's really useful. I know we have Puneet also with us. Puneet, we have talked about a lot of factors which are impacting the digitalization from the security and cyber resiliency purpose. I know you have been working in the cyber laws and the legal side of the security and the digitization story or digitization part. What's your view on the privacy element when it comes to digitization? How important it is for the organization to ensure privacy of the data when it comes to digitization? Puneet, we can't hear you. I think there is some technology glitch that need to be fixed. Now we can hear you. Thanks a lot.
Perfect. So see, technological growth, digitization of traditional businesses, all of that has started primarily in the last 10, 15 years. And honestly, a lot of organizations were not digitized till the COVID situation happened. So you were only looking at MNCs and big organizations moving towards digitization. Now, it's during this pandemic that people are forced, even small scale industries, medium scale industries are forced to adopt digitization practices for their business. Now, if you're talking about privacy being built into this, then no, definitely a lot of these organizations have not thought through anything at this point of time. Privacy is something that they're going to build upon at a later stage, not something that they already have in place at this point of time. So as you could say, Indians, we always catch up from the back. We really are not that proactive in a lot of these activities. So I can give you one example, like most organizations started having work from home, everything went online, the number of ransomware attacks increased during the COVID period, the number of data breaches, maximum number of data breaches, whether it may be of the medical industry, financial industry, every single industry happened left, right, center. So definitely, even the work from home planning or digitization it was a forced activity due to the pandemic. So there was no anticipation with respect to privacy, with respect to user data, with respect to organizational data, nothing at all.
Thanks, Puneet, for sharing the insight. And I echo with the one fact that in India, digitization, especially if I talk about the financial industry, it is still limited. I was reading one of the report that only 17% of the financial institutions, especially banks, have gone for digitalization pre-COVID. But I have seen some traction. Now we have like neo banks, like, or digital banks, which are like 100% digital, and they are starting their business models with the complete digitalization and digitization. Considering that, do you think that security and privacy can be different side of the same coin? I mean, if organizations are thinking of security controls, can they achieve some element of the privacy as well?
They definitely can, provided it's mandated by the law and the government. So right now, if the data protection bill is not enacted, you're not going to see organizations themselves saying, oh my God, I need to really protect my user data. I need to be careful about my HR data. Nobody cares about that till there is a financial implication of penalties, legal cases. There has to be a sword hanging on the head for people to start compliance. So, for example, breach of privacy was a concept which is always known. So, for example, if you will take a bank, doesn't a bank already know that they have sensitive personal data of an individual being saved with them? So they don't need a law or an act to tell them that, oh my God, I need to implement privacy norms. I need to have a good data protection frameworks, incident response frameworks, actually implementable such frameworks and technologies implemented. But it's a law that will mandate it, where there will be a compliance failing which they will be penalized, lose their license. It's only in such situations that you could say privacy will be built into the system. Till then, definitely, I think everybody understands that if you're dealing with sensitive information, it has to be protected. Despite that, you will see so many organizations are still not having basic encryption for the data also. So it's all about a sword hanging on the head. So till that doesn't happen, you're looking at people definitely not being compliant.
On contrary, Puneet, I mean, when I interact with customers, especially in the regulated segments like financial or telecom segment customers, now they are actually getting these awareness, and they are actually proactive. They are asking these data privacy, PII data related concerns. They want to know what they need to do, what will be the scenarios where the privacy or anything related to data protection can be violated. I think GDPR has played a very important role, though it's applicable for EU entities. It has, I mean, any entity, even in India, if they are doing business with EU citizen, it is applicable. But ideally, it's a law of land for EU, though it has extraterritorial rights or obligations. I have seen some traction. I mean, I see those discussions happening on the positive side. Definitely, we have not touched the milestone, but yes, I mean, I can see some traction happening in the positive direction.
There's a reason for that, Swati, because the RBI has implemented, in case of online frauds, etc., a certain level of penalization of the bank that is going to happen. There are penalties being imposed through RBI guidelines, and a lot of people are becoming aware of the same, that if they are victims of a financial fraud online, they don't have to really pay up all that amount to the bank or to a credit card company. So the bank has to bear an onus of all these things because it's because of their default that, you know, person's personal data could have leaked out. And they have to prove that it was not because of them in the event individual who has been breached files a case. So the RBI has actually brought about these regulations and circulars. I'm sure you must be aware. Even with respect to TRAI, there are circulars issued by TRAI why these organizations suddenly are asking what is privacy. These circulars have only come about in the last 1.5 years. So you will see traction happening in this space because, the telecom sector is regulated by TRAI and the banking sector by the RBI. So the moment they implement some form of a policy or some form of guidelines that they have to comply with is when these sectors wake up to comply.
I give a lot of credit to privacy professionals like you as well, who are creating a lot of awareness, and they are talking about the privacy factors, irrespective of that there is no specific guidelines or law for a particular set of data. But I see a lot of professionals, including you, who are talking about privacy and creating a lot of awareness. So thanks for that. I'm going back to Sailaja. Sailaja, you heard Puneet. How do you see these regulations, industry compliance, supporting in security and privacy aspect, especially security? So do you think that because there are regulations, there are privacy norms, there are guidelines, it is enhancing the security posture of the organizations?
Yeah. So I think, as Puneet also rightly mentioned, right, to some extent now the awareness is also coming up, and you also acknowledged in a positive note. Yes, when we also have to see, now we have privacy laws going around in the air, and also security is also getting critical, having all of these attacks and breaches happening day in and day out. And there are also a lot of key technologies that can also support this security and privacy objectives in order to help the organizations to get into the desired level of security posture that they are aiming for. Because when we have to look into them, the challenges are definitely multifold, and based on the kind of domain or the sector they are working on, the organizations also have to invest. Nowadays, we also get to hear about the crown jewels, right? Organizations also have to decide what is the key asset that they would like to protect, or what is the key niche for them, so that they would also like to invest additional measures onto their crown jewel aspects as well. And when I have to talk into the technological aspects, right, since I'm a techie, I definitely have to, touch base on few of them. We have been hearing, zero trust architecture. It started gaining so much of a momentum. It's not just about one simple concept. I have to say it's a collection of technologies working together to protect our data as it travels across devices, apps, and locations in and around the house, and also around the world, I have to say. And rooted in the principle of never trust, it is like always verify. Don't trust anything, because now that everybody is working remotely, you never know whether what a kind of an request that you're receiving to your server, right? So zero trust is designed to prevent lateral movement, no matter which technology or vendor you use to deploy zero trust. And the strategy for sure remains the same. And people also have to understand, when this is coming louder as a buzzword, it is not a technology at the end of the day, it is an approach and a framework. And I think, people should not get confused, because there is also a lot of noise, which is also equally done by, so many products telling, hey, look, we offer zero trust product and all that, because it's more of a framework and architecture. And the other important factor that we also see in the security aspects is, insider threats. People knowingly sometimes and unknowingly sometimes they're getting into some aspects, as I also mentioned in my first opening note, right? One of these automobile guys, they have to stop everything, starting from the desk to the shop floor, because there was a breach of their endpoint. So today's most damaging security threats do not really originate from the malicious outsiders. And to my surprise, when I'm looking into the stats again here and the numbers, they say 50% of the issues and the threats are coming from the trusted insiders, which have access to sensitive data and systems. So we also have some technologies like user behavior analytics, like AI and ML. So the technology uses this big data analytics to identify anomalous behavior of an user for sure. And the biggest, elephant in the room, at least to most of the people, when they hear about privacy and PII and personal data and healthcare data and so on and so forth, right? So whenever, as Puneet also rightly mentioned, right, I've also listed down, the sword must be hanging on the head, and with also a huge implication of penalties, which we are also seeing currently in the European region, right? Most of the companies, starting from Google to many big guys, Marriott, and all of them have already paid the fines, huge penalties, H&M and all of them. And there are many also in the queue. And the most important factor is data loss prevention, right? And when also rightly mentioned by Puneet, she said, there is not even a simple basic fundamental encryption available on the systems now, where people also know they're also saving or having all of this sensitive and critical data of their patients or of their customers or of whatever it is. So they can also have some technologies like...
I just want to, a specific input I wanted, that how important the people aspect is. And I know you are working with WiSP, and you are doing a great job in terms of making or creating a next layer of professionals or a next set of army which are equipped with the cybersecurity requirements. How people aspect is important. And I mean, with this, probably we can, it can be a closing remark as well. And I'll go quickly to Puneet for her closing remark, and we will close soon.
Sure, Swati. Yeah. Thank you for stopping by WISP for sure. This is an initiative we started to sensitize people. And today, when I started my session, somebody from the CyberX team, because they're also like my good friends, asking me, what is your background all about? I said, we really closely work with all the students and the children and the women in the rural areas, trying to sensitize them on the digital threats, because everyone is so damn connected on the digital devices, being even from the remote parts of the villages and all from India as well. So what we do is we're also trying to sensitize them on the digital hygiene and the, cyber ethics, like what they have to do, do's and don'ts for all the students. And at the same time, we were also fortunate having few people who are also having the same passion to give back to the community, because we all definitely know there is a huge gap with respect to the skills that is required. And we all also wish India to become the cybersecurity destination, having in the genes of every one of us, the technology is so key for all of us, right? And if I have to just quickly talk about the numbers as a closing remark, right? We were also so proud. We celebrated our first year anniversary in last month. We were able to reach 70,000 citizens, and we were able to offer sessions to more than 20 colleges so far. And we have chapters in close to 13 colleges. 5 student chapters are going on, where we are consciously sensitizing, at the same time training all of them. And at the same time, we've also done some research. We published some white papers, and we collaborated with, law enforcement authorities with few states. And we're also mentoring people and also offering internships and so on and so forth. If I have to
amazing efforts, Sailaja. Amazing efforts.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing so much insight. And I think that's a kind of noble job that you are doing with including so many people on different front, and especially people who are not privileged to have access to all the information and all the resources. So that's very, very important. I'll quickly go to Puneet for one-liner closure remark from her side, that what is one guidance that she wants to give to the individuals who are not tech savvy or who are not cyber security savvy, how they can do that. I realize Puneet is not able to hear us because of the technical glitch. So from my side, just as a closing remark, I'll say, go digitize your business. Follow the digitalization. It can add a lot of value in terms of business experience, customer base, and building that trust and gaining the cyber resiliency. But have the security and privacy aspect in your mind. These 3 things can be in one line, one direction. Thanks a lot. Thanks everyone for joining this session. Thanks a lot.